We can talk about spirits in the dark. It's fine.
Oh, I love that. I've never talked about. It's the last time I talked about spirits in the dark. I was like 12, telling ghost stories and like.
Are you going to have good questions then?
Okay, great.
Okay, can you just stay in place? Right, I'll adapt.
Okay, great. So I was talking with Aude. She just been to Rome.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yes. Where more precisely again?
To Fregene.
Oh, that's by the beach, isn't it?
Oh, you know it?
Yeah, I have some friends from Rome who always go to Fregene,
Yeah.
and they make a joke out of it. That's why I know the name.
Ah, okay.
But I actually have never been there.
Yeah. Can you hear like the zzz of the?
Oh, don't worry.
Ah, okay.
Because anything that's happening, for me, I have to get the instruments to do their best, but then I will work on it post production, so it's fine.
Okay. Don't move.
Is that a camera?
Yeah, that's the camera. Yes.
Oh God, because we're also filming each other.
You are in the middle. I'm hidden, so it's fine.
You're actually in the Instagram reel.
Okay, I think it's fine.
Very special lady.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are they joking about Fregene?
I don't know. Like I don't know what the joke was. It was around. Yeah, the name, but because I'm not from there. I think it was a bit of an inside joke for them, like Romans going to Fregene. Yeah.
Funny. You have a nice voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's like people from the region where I'm from in Italy, Piedmont.
Ah, Piedmont, yeah.
Yeah, Piedmont. Yeah, it's actually it's more of a French sounding word.
Yeah.
They usually always go to Liguria. That's just right south because we don't have the beach in that region. So everyone, like every time it's summer, everyone goes there. So I guess it's very similar for this place.
Yeah. It's a small beach.
How did you choose it? Because it's kind of not a very popular one. It's not a super famous one.
Yeah, I was supposed to see my aunt in Roma, and she was a bit unwell, so I booked a place close to the beach, and I saw her once in a while. And yeah, that was really nice. Just resting, eating pasta, and
The best.
Aperol spritz, and it was very cute.
Nice one. Have you ever been to Rome?
Yeah. Several times. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is amazing. Probably it's my favorite city in Italy.
Oh, really?
Maybe, yes.
Not Florence or?
Yeah, it is. The thing is that I feel like Rome is Florence on steroids.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's way more alive than Florence. Florence is a little bit mellow. And the people are more mellow as well, I think. There's something about,
And also in terms of art and architecture and archaeological sites, it just has more, many more.
That makes sense.
What I usually say is that Rome is like a open air museum.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a ticket. You just walk around and there are sites and stuff. And
For free.
yeah. And also I feel like it's one of the few cities where you're just walking. And just by walking in the city, you can actually tell that a huge civilization, like a very powerful one, used to be there, used to exist some hundreds of years ago. So, well, usually when you go to other cities, like you have in the square, like you have, I don't know, like some columns or like a temple, like, but it's just like one, or like a few. While there, it's everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
So, but I guess it makes sense since the Roman Empire was so powerful. So.
Yeah, totally. When was the last time you were in Italy?
Just recently, but I just went to visit my family, so I don't see it as a holiday. It's more like I do enjoy it.
To-do list.
Yeah, exactly. I do enjoy it, and I'm happy to see my family, but it's also like you said, a to-do list. Yeah, usually because I saw this meme recently of that usually if you're an expat, when you go home, like you have to get so many things done.
Yeah,
like,
it's horrible.
See family, see friends, go to the doctor for a visit, like to this and that. Maybe like usually for me, I always have like some documents that are missing or something, and I have to go get them.
Yeah.
So now it's like bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum.
Yeah.
So no Aperol spritz and no.
So that's why you're going to hide yourself in an ashram for months after that.
Yes, yeah. No bureaucracy, hopefully.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
No, but that's actually that one as well. I don't see it as a holiday. I see it as a time to explore myself and just my creativity and just see what I can do if I have nothing to do.
I think it's going to be hard, you know, like the routine in the ashram, it's actually pretty hardcore, you know, like waking up early, doing all the practice. You'll build a lot of mental resilience.
Yes, but that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
I need some discipline because
yes.
Me personally, I do have some discipline. Being a freelancer, I need some discipline because otherwise,
you
I'm
don't
going
get
to
paid.
But I still like, since I'm more flexible with my time, I afford myself to wake up, I don't know, like 9, 10 a.m. if I want to.
Yeah.
So that's not great. So I need to go to a place where everyone has to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
And you have to do practices, and usually it lasts like a couple hours.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And that's just like, not even the warm-up for the day, it's the pre-warm-up, and then you have to go, and you're a volunteer, so you have to do whatever it's needed, like it's either preparing food or like, I don't know, working on a garden or something. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny because we always have the kind of Instagram-y version of like, oh, I've been in an ashram, eat, pray, love, and then you go to BSP. I went to BSP. It's a Sadhguru thing in Los Angeles. And man, I was like, I just want to leave this place so much. At the end of the 4 days, I couldn't even walk. Like they broke us.
Whoa. What did you do?
I promise I can't say things, but like the mental and the emotional and the physical, I was like, what the fuck? Sorry, cut this. But you know, it was.
No, it's fine.
It was like I was looking at the gates and like, how can I climb the gates? But then I don't have a car. I need to escape this place.
Catwoman.
Yes. Yeah, I needed Batman car to take me away from this crazy stuff.
Wow, you're scaring me. Now I'm canceling my trip.
You can be scared, but then it's good. It makes you face the deep end.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's like a military service, but you're going there on your own will.
Yeah. Yes. So. Until you forget why you were here. But but it's worth it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's give some background why the three of us are here. First of all, this is great because I'm just happy about all the female energy that I have in the room today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because usually so far it's been mainly interviewing or having a podcast chat with men.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, where are all the women that wants to be interviewed?
You've been missing out, man.
So today I'm bringing
So much. Sorry.
So today I'm bringing up my ratio. But this is a particular one because, again, like it's the three of us. Usually it's just two people. Because I already had a interview with Aude, and it was an amazing one. I really enjoyed it. But then when we ended the interview, we realized that the recording was lost, unfortunately. That was a really bad day. But I still enjoyed the conversation, so that's why I invited you back. And I invited Julia as well, because I just needed like a third person that would add like genuinity to the conversation, because I know like your path kind of. Of course, like there are many more things that you haven't told me about. So yeah, I just needed some support. So thank you, Julia, for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. So if you could both give an introduction about yourself, like a very simple one. And yeah, then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm I'm really happy to be here. This is my first time doing this, and I'm really curious to hear your story, Aude. Very, very curious. And yeah, it's just really cool to be here. Like, there's nothing else I can add, really. I usually ask questions for my work, but in a research capacity, so this is going to feel very different, and I'm really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you for inviting me, Samir.
No worries.
That's my first podcast recorded, or like the second attempt at least. A bit about me. So I've been working 12 years in tech, and in parallel, I've been developing a whole holistic business with Reiki energy healing coaching, but also psychic mediumship. And that's going to be the theme of today, of like what has been my journey in getting these skills, which are not really common in society, and what I'm doing out of it and how it helps people.
Yeah, that's exactly why what captured my attention the first time, because that's what you told me, and it's something that I never met someone that does that before, and especially like as professionally as you do it. So because usually it's a kind of woo-woo thing, and people that practice this stuff, they kind of sound mad, and they look mad.
So people can't see me, but I don't have crystals everywhere. I'm actually wearing a shirt and a jean.
It's because you have invisible crystals.
Yes. Yes, and as you said, Samir, despite being very spiritual, and we have the same thing of being followers of Sadhguru and having a very deep spiritual practice in our daily life, I think what has always been important to me is how can I include my spirituality in my modern life. You know, I don't need to be... I mean, I would love to go to the Himalayan mountains in India with you, Samir, but I can't be all the time a yogi at the top of the mountain. And also, I think it's important to have people who bring the spirituality in the city, so that they can inspire and free people's mind and help them get to a well-being place. So that's why when I was doing my corporate jobs, I was very successful in tech and working for Gucci, Trainline, etc. But I was like, this is kind of a soul-sucking job. I got lots of money, but like for doing what, you know, for investing in my mental health and running away in trips to India, which helps a bit, but then you go back to the factory. Or at least it was my feeling. So so I developed in parallel all this practice of well-being and things to help me. But one thing that happened was in 2012, I had a big breakdown because of stress, but also because I had lost my dad 3 years before, and I didn't really integrate grief. And from there, I started to have all my psychic abilities awakening and paranormal activities happening around me. And I will go in more details later. But what I mean is often, and I'm not a unique example, often there are these things happening in people's life when something really bad or shocking is happening, and then there is a breakthrough or there is a new cycle happening. And so that's how it's all started. But my vision is to show that everyone is intuitive, everyone is psychic. There is nothing hoo-hoo about this. There is nothing Halloween-y or scary or Ouija board. This is part of our natural abilities. And like society has started to recognize that mindfulness and meditation is something that we need and that we should do, like brushing our teeth in order to feel good with ourselves. Being connected with our energy and our intuition is part of our real nature. So it's kind of understanding that we were a bit in a state of amnesia, and it was very common before. You know, we were talking about the Roman or the Egyptian or the Greek. It was normal for them, you know, to have visions or to go see like the oracle
of Delhi.
Yeah, or to have dreams, and interpreting the dreams. So it's just kind of our Western society specifically, because when you look at Asia, Africa, it's normal for them. Our Western society kind of say, ooh, this is not good. And a part of me can't stop believing, and sorry, it might be a bit scandalous for some people, that with the influence of the church, and I respect people with religion, and the element of control, political, they didn't want us to know that we are so powerful, you know? And we have all the right to get our power back without being an anarchist, just to feel integrated with ourselves.
Yeah, sure. Definitely agreed. Yeah, and also that's why people are kind of put off by spirituality and anything that's metaphysical, because immediately you associate it with the church, and everyone's immediately starts saying, oh, all the horrible things that the church did. So, so religion is bullshit. So blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's why everyone nowadays say that they are atheists.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an evolution, because at least when I look at my journey, and which is similar to a lot of people, I was brought up as a Catholic, but when I was asking a question to the priest, and I was always like the curious child, quite annoying, always asking questions to understand, and they were not able to tell me, to like give me satisfaction in their answers. I remember 6 or 7 years old, like, you're not answering my question, I'm like, well, it's not, I don't believe in that. And my intuition, like, it doesn't feel like truth. But I knew I believed in my God, of like a higher being. So I always pray to my God. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I need someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a long years of atheism, especially with the influence of my mom, who was like, religion, abusive priest, no. And then I had this huge breakdown in my life. And I was like, when you touch rock bottom, the only way to get up, and last time I was talking about I attempted suicide, the only way to get up is really to be living in a higher power and to have faith, because when you lose everyone around you, you need someone,
Mm-hmm.
And that's often how people reconnect to their faith, or to reconnect to start believing in spirituality, because they have to find a way. And to say what? Yeah, and this is how then I started to have visions, or like spirit activities and things like that. And these last 2 years, I started to have, it was quite funny, I started to have visions of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I'm like, no, you can't do that to me. No, like, send me visions of Buddha, like, or Krishna.
Wrong channel.
Or send me visions of Cleopatra, but not Jesus. Like, I can't be this kind of people talking about Jesus like I'm going to be crucified, But what I understood is, again, we are talking about ascended masters, Buddha, Jesus, whatever. Then they've been packaged in a religion. It's marketing,
Yeah.
They've existed. Jesus was like, he was a Jew, I mean, I don't want to go to a tangent, but what I'm saying is, if we receive visions, doesn't mean that we have to be Catholic or we have to be,
Yeah.
It's just guidance. And it's accepting that there are people in our life, like Krishna or Vishnu, etc., that are here to guide us if we want, and we don't have to believe in them. But in moments of despair, it helps, and then we have a lot of signs. So,
Yeah, definitely. And even religion, even if it in its archaic, like not very, very truthful form, like the Christian dictated by the church, the Christian religion dictated by the church, it still helps, even if I think like a lot of people talk about the importance of having the community around the church, having the activities organized by the church. Like in Italy, this is like really big. Like the church is a huge part of the society, and it plays a role. Like for example, like me, like if I think of the church as a child, like remembering my relationship with the church as a child, even if I'm not Christian, not at all. Like I have Muslim upbringing. They just were organizing activities. Like for example, in summer, like you always had the activities organized by the church. So when you don't go to school, like you go to the church and like you meet other kids, and you go on trips and stuff, and you just spend your days there. Or like during the week as well, you can go there, and they have like you can play football with other people. Like so they organize a lot of society, community-related stuff. And for example, they were always giving out like food and clothes to the less lucky, like the people in need. So actually, like they had like a really important. At least in Italy, they have like a really active and important role.
And I think it's beautiful and it's needed, and it's not about religion. It's really about what human beings do to this, and if they use, if some of them, because not all of them, use the name of God and religion to attack other country or control people. This was not the message of Buddha, Jesus, or whoever, you know. But I think you touched on a really important thing, Samir, is people, especially nowadays, you know, we were talking about social media. We are more connected than ever, but there is a really deep sense of loneliness, and people instead of looking at their feelings or talking about their feelings, they just numb themselves with social media. And I do social media for my business, but it's a love and hate relationship. But what I'm saying is, community is so important for human beings, and that's what I see in my business, and that's why also that's the main thing, is to connect people with each other and connect people with themselves. Because I believe, you know, like depression, anxiety and stuff is just a result of being disconnected with ourselves, you know, having the wrong idea or being ashamed of these things.
Yeah, totally.
And the moment we have this, and that's what I see. So for psychic mediumship, I do psychic readings. So I give I don't like to say prediction, but I help people understand their challenges without knowing what's going on in their life, and having messages. I will tell you, I will talk more about it later. But I also teach psychic mediumship. So I allow people, I train people to channel their own information. And the first thing that happens is they feel reconnected with themselves, even with just one class. And it gives them this confidence, this validation that the intuition and the message they have is not bullshit. Because unfortunately in our society, the moment we have a gut feeling or the moment we have an intuition, they say, this is your ego, this is your imagination. And again, look at yourself, remember how you were when you were a child. You had all these things. This is who you are. But then society says, this is not true, this is not true. Stop creating a fantasy, stop imagining things. And so we cut this part of ourselves, which also is crying out. And that's why also it creates some anxiety. Because when anxiety happens, it's like your body, your inner child is saying something to you, but you don't listen. And then it's like the body doesn't feel well. So it's all related, you know. And that's why I also teach. So in corporate, I'm not going to say psychic. I'm going to say the word intuition. But I teach intuitive coaching, so that they make better decision, and that they can listen to themselves and be like, "Oh, actually, that's the right thing. It's not what my boss said. Sorry." And then it helps. It helps, and you're more productive. You know, Samir, you were asking me, how are you so productive? It's because I follow my energy and my intuition, and then I channel information much faster. So that's also a good thing about being in tune with your psychic abilities and intuition.
Yeah, you touch on so many points. Yeah, there's.
Sorry, it's a lot of information. Go for it.
No, it's great.
I'm curious to know how like that looks like when you help people kind of reconnect with themselves and their intuition. I'm really curious to know how that looks like, because I think you're totally right. The society we live in, we kind of, whether through someone else who has more authority than us, we kind of develop these defense mechanisms because other people kind of tell us to, and they don't belong to us. So I'm just really curious of how that looks like.
Yeah. So we have to think ourselves as a channel, and that there is this pool of information that is available. And once we have a clear mind, and we don't need to be master in meditation, we are able to access the information. So every week, Tuesday and Friday, I have the online psychic class, and there are like beginners coming. And even after the first class, they are able to channel from 70 to 80% accuracy of messages. So it means, so how a session is going to work is I ground them, I open their energy, their chakras, I protect the space. A lot of people ask me, but what about if there are like some devil's energy or whatever? I'm not interested in this. I've never had a psychic attack or demonic entities, and I think again we have to stop like this kind of thing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not, like things like satanism and black magic. It does exist. But I'm not interested in this. Where you focus your attention, you focus your energy, and you attract, seems like, so super safe. And so there are several exercises I teach in my class, but the main one is psychic reading. So for example, Julia, if I was connecting with your energy, then I will be able to see visions or hear things or have some feelings that will give me information about you, without knowing anything about you. And then, so I will channel, for example, for 10 minutes, you will stay quiet, and then for 2 minutes, you will give me the feedback and say, this resonated, this may not resonate. And the second thing, I'll go back to that, the second thing is psychic mediumship. So it's the ability to connect with past loved ones. So again, this is super cringy. They're dead. No. Why would I connect to my dead grandpa? But again, let's put it into perspective. We've been all brainwashed with Halloween and Ouija board stuff. But if we take a step back and if we look at history and other cultures, we all have ancestors. It's absolutely normal in Asia and Africa, for example. And not honoring them is actually a bit weird and disrespectful. Is cutting ourselves is like being a fish and say, I'm not a fish, And remembering that we are all a spirit or a soul or a spirit in a body. And when we die, we don't have a body. So we don't have to be afraid of spirits because we'll be afraid of our own self. It's a bit like the little puppy who sees himself for the first time in the mirror. Like, oh my God, what is that? So nothing cringy about it. And so psychic mediumship is same, being able to describe the person, describe your grandpa or whatever, with specific details. So that's how you recognize a trained psychic medium, because it's not going to be to tell you just, oh, Julia, you're going to have a nice life and you'll get married. Don't give a shit about that. You have to, you have to have specific details like how did your grandpa look like? What was his energies, the months of birth, the cause of death, so that you are able to identify this and say, okay, this is my grandpa. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be able to relegate the message and giving you specific information about your life, about his life, that shows you that you can trust me. Mm-hmm. And it's not on finding some social media research. There is no way someone mm-hmm. can find the information. And what is really interesting is, again, even a beginner can do that. And why? Because we are all psychic and we are all intuitive, and there is nothing hoo-hoo about this.
I love this idea because it feels like there's no I mean, obviously there's no authority. Like it's very inclusive and it's very accessible, and I love that. Cause I feel when we were talking about religion, I feel there's a difference between like faith and dogma. Like there's a difference between a set of rules that someone tells you you've got to follow blindly, and your spiritual experience. So I just want to say I love that, because it just
and you know, when you say that, I had some shivers, and it's like, again, it shows like we connected on a deeper level. But that's also what I don't like about spirituality, and that's some spirituality, or the spirituality branding. And that's why I resisted it for so long, because I don't want to be a hippie. Sorry, guys. I love you, my hippie friends, but I need to be integrated. Okay, you choose you, I choose myself. But I was like, I want to be me. I don't want to, I just want to live my life. And I want to be able to do, at that time, my corporate job and also include this. How do I do this? But then it's realizing this is part of us. We shouldn't be choosing one or the other. And most of my clients, they are integrated in society, and they want to explore this spirituality. And And so to go back to your point, Julia, when, for example, my students start, some of them developing an ego because they're like, oh yes, I've channeled so much information and I've been able to find out this about your grandpa, whatever. I'm like, this is not you who did the job, right? You are the channel, spirit, or the universe, or whatever you call it, has given the information to you. You are just the recipient. You are just here to not doubt, not block the process. So you are not better or worse or more special. You are special, but you are at the same level than anyone else.
Yeah.
And a lot of my students or people who hear about what I do put me on a pedestal because it's like, oh, she has psychic abilities and she knows a lot. I'm just a few steps ahead. I'm nothing more special than you. And then when I teach you, you're at the same level, or even more. So a lot of people, especially psychic mediums, they will do this job to take the power. And it can be very dangerous. A non-trained psychic medium who tells you like messages that can literally destruct you, or wrong messages. And that's why also there is a really bad reputation about psychic medium. Because there are a lot of charlatans out there, unfortunately.
And I feel like this connects back to the religion topic, because it's again someone else that can do something helpful, can actually help you to connect, to develop your faith, but they actually use it as power.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's all about the intention. And like for everything, we were talking about AI. AI can be the best thing in the world. We digress in, but it's all the same connected. It can be the best thing in the world or the worst. What is the intention? What is the intention behind it? Religion is the most beautiful thing in the world, or it can be the worst. Like kill for God or love for God. And psychic abilities as well, So when I train my students, I always say, be mindful with your word. Be careful what you say. I can be in a psychic reading and I can potentially see that something bad is going to happen. But what is the interest of me saying that to the person? To prove my point? So that's my ego. So instead of saying this person is going to die soon, I'll be like, oh, go spend some time with this person. I'm not lying. I'm just framing it in a positive way, so you don't have regrets later.
That's really beautiful, I think.
Because at the end, I want people to feel good. It's not like showing that, oh, I'm a good psychic medium.
Yeah, and how do you deal with like students that you sense that they might not have the best intentions, or they're a little bit power, because we're all human beings, and sometimes the ego gets the best of us, and we go on like a little power trip. We go, woohoo, like I know how to do this new thing, and I'm so cool. And, how do you deal with that? Like, what do you say?
So luckily, again, because energy attracts energy, 99% of the people I attract are really lovely and kind and with the right intention. I had a case of a woman who seems really lovely, and he's very lovely, but was had a very traumatic past, and went to a few of my sessions and was really good at channeling, actually. And then I saw on Instagram that she vehiculated message of hate and racism using the spirit thing. So it's like people saying, "Oh, it's God who told me this," and she was saying, "Spirit told me that this color, these people of color or not color, I don't want to give too much information, are bad, are the devil." And I'm like,
oh, wow.
well. So the rule, again, very, very, very easy to recognize what is true or not from spirit. It's always positive. It's always messages of love and peace. Otherwise, it's not spirit. I don't know. It is. It's imagination or maybe some kind of whatever. I don't even want to go there. So when I saw that she was using the medium of spirit to veiculate messages of hate, and unfortunately, you look at history and like the war and genocide and all these things is pretty much the same thing. Then I was feeling very uncomfortable about it, and luckily we had a conversation, and she was not happy with my point of view, and she left. But that's a shame, hurt people, and I've been through a lot of trauma, and that's why I'm a healer, because I've worked a lot on myself. But I always try to see the positive in people, and to be like, okay, these messages, these tools are for bringing more love and peace. It's not more division.
Yeah.
And going back to religion, I had a few people, luckily not many, but there are some people who have been brought up with a church and who think that psychic medium or even Reiki is really bad. And they think it's like the devil.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like having a monopolium of like a big corporation and saying like, oh no, like these small ones have to disappear.
Yeah,
like it's just this big one.
And again, it's control, but it's not their fault, because in the Bible, or at least a rewrite and recent version, and I'm not going to have a lot of some people are happy with what I'm saying. It says like, don't trust psychic mediums. But when you look at Jesus, what was he was saying? He was having visions, So what I'm saying is, it's something normal. It's something normal. There is nothing to be afraid of. And in case of doubts, just tune with yourself. Tune with yourself, like was talking to you, Julia. Tune if it makes you feel calm, or if it makes you feel anxious. So that's your first gut feeling, how to assess if a person is trustable and has good intention, because your body can't lie to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and really honoring ourselves and the messages within our body.
And actually, we all know this, what you're talking about. It's just that we forgot it, because just in our way of talking, in our speech, like we always say, oh, I had butterflies feeling. Oh, my gut is telling me that.
Yeah.
Or like, I feel it in my spine. Like, yeah, that's what it means. Like, you have different signals coming from different parts of your body. It's not just your brain, because being a society that's overly focused on brain, and we're kind of so amazed by the power of the brain, because like it made us achieve some amazing stuff, to be fair, in the last couple of centuries, and also because also we wanted to get away from the religion stuff that did so many horrible things in the past. So we just focus a lot on science and on the brain, and that's it. But these two worlds can coexist, and like your brain can coexist with your body, and you can just learn how to read the different signals that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we say on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
and it's difficult to do it by ourselves, because I remember when I started 12 years ago, I was like, I don't know why. I was like, oh, I really want to train my psychic abilities, and then like I had crazy paranormal stuff happening to me. But there was I didn't find anyone who could train this. And there are like now like schools, and it's really good. But to go back to your point, Samir, and I'm not playing the card of the feminist or whatever, because I'm not.
Probably I was going to say that as well. What you're going to say now?
It's just we've been in a very patriarchal society.
I was going to say that,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah, which is, and this is how, again, going back to the corporate world, is very much shaped around like the male mindset at that time, because let's not forget that male are not like that. They've been conforming this, like, you can't express your emotions. And now that's why, like, the masculine is crying out, you know, for reconnecting to their emotions. And you're going to an ashram and going back to this, you know. So we've been in these few decades where, or a bit more, where everything was quite asepticized, or I can't remember the word, like we couldn't express our emotions. And so corporate world, and nothing against it, but yeah, not my cup of tea sometimes. If you express an emotion, you're weak, you know, like brain, logical, etc. So that's why now I teach corporate to be like, you can use your logical brain, but if you manage to have your logical brain and your intuition, then you're really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And that's why also there are a lot of politicians and CEO, but they're not going to put it out there. They go see psychic mediums, you know, because they know that this is an important source of information. But again, because still in the current state of society, and people are more and more waking up and interested in these activities. Like what I was saying, I have coaching, Reiki, and psychic in my business, and like the psychic is booming. Like everyone wants to learn, and everyone wants to have a psychic reading, you know. So people recognize this. But also people it shows also that the world is in a world of despair at the moment, because they can't find hope anymore in the media, in the war, and this kind of thing. And people need to reconnect to their power, because we don't have to follow things that we don't want to follow. You know, we don't have to go to war. We don't have to. We have an individuality, and the more people waking up, and again, doesn't mean to be a full-blood EP, reconnecting with that truth, the less we buy on the bullshit that are on social media and news. Because then when you reconnect with your intuition, they can't lie to you, because your inner truth is saying this is not true. And this is freedom. And like the information war that is going on right now has no power over you.
Yeah, it sounds very empowering, and obviously it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, feels like there's a huge healing aspect to it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I come from a psychology background, and we tend to, not psychology per se, but more psychiatry, they tend to, you know, give people diagnosis of issues, and some people find it empowering, liberating to have that category attached to them, and some people really, really struggle. So I'm curious to know, the kind of healing, the more healing aspect of this, because it feels like, you know, when you have someone telling you that you're diagnosed with one thing, another in a mental health capacity, so I'm not talking about obviously physical health, like the body and mind are extremely interconnected. So what affects the body affects the mind, and vice versa, obviously. But some people might feel caged and like stuck in a narrative that they can't get out of. And I'm just curious to know, like, how this psychic medium kind of teaching people to kind of reconnect with intuition, the more healing aspect. If you've come across anyone who was stuck in a bit of a narrative that they were telling themselves, and through this they managed to get out of it, essentially.
Yeah, thank you for this question, because it makes me emotional, and it's kind of like the whole theme of my life. You know, there are people in my family that I'm not going to quote who are struggling with bipolarity and anxiety and depression. Even myself struggle with depression, but people in my family really, really deeply struggling with this. And I've always wanted to do psychology, actually, but then I didn't do it because I was like, oh, it's kind of, I want to sort out my family and things. But, you know, I became a holistic.
I totally get that.
I became a holistic healer after 12 years of corporate. But anyway, for me, it goes back to, I believe in medicine, I believe in science, I believe in psychotherapy, but I think it's one side of the picture and has to be integrated with other things, you know. Mm-hmm. When the person in my family that is bipolar, I always had the intuition that there was some kind of, you know, like when you look at African culture or Asian cultures, I think that there is a part of their soul that is stuck. Or they have this kind of psychic abilities where they can navigate between different realities. But our materialistic world is like, you're just crazy.
Yeah.
And when you and when you think about it, it's like, what is normality? No one is normal. You know, you scratch the surface and you see so many neuroses, you know.
Absolutely.
And when in 2012, when I had like this huge breakdown, I started to have out-of-body experiences. And I'm like, what the fuck? And like the paranormal activities I had like the scary movies, like the psychic attack, the light moving by itself, the door opening, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm really turning nuts. And my mom was ready to put me in a psychiatric hospital. And a lot of people actually end up in this kind of thing because I think they're crazy. There is an interesting book that talks about spiritual awakening and shows that our society, and the line is not black and white, our society thinks that often there are like the psychosis or whatever is mental health issues. In other cultures, it is spiritual awakening. It's shamanism. The best shamans go through these crazy things, and the community is there for them to let them go through this. Our society, and I'm not saying you shouldn't give medication to a bipolar, please don't say that, but our society will say, you're crazy, take your medication. But some other people will say it blocks the process. My point is, medications are important, and I took antidepressant in the past. It's really saved me. But it has to have a holistic approach. And that's why I do with like spiritual life coaching or psychic abilities, to be like, okay, you're going through all of this, but what is the message behind it? How can you soothe yourself? How can you talk to your inner child? Because if a pain is happening again and again, it is a message. It's not your body and your mind against you. It is like a need that is going to come through. Again, why are so many people depressed nowadays? Is because they shove their emotions so deep down. It'd be like, I don't want to feel the pain. But then the pain is so bad that at some point they can't function, you know?
Yeah, you touched on a really good point that I was thinking about, like probably for the last couple of years. That it's funny that usually if you have a problem in your body, let's say that you have like some point in your body that really hurts, let's say the knee, and every time you walk, it's hurting. Like you would think to go to a physiotherapist and get it checked and do like some physiotherapy and actually solve the problem. But then when it comes to depression, everyone just ignores it. Okay, like I'm depressed, I'm sad. Okay, I'll just deal with my life, I just continue. But no, like being depressed, it's your body and your whole system telling you there is something that's wrong about your life that you should change. You shouldn't just ignore it. So like it's like a way of your emotion of hurting, that are telling you, hey, danger, there is something that you should change. And you shouldn't just, like in the case of the knee, just take a painkiller and that's it. and like keep walking
Yeah.
until you completely fuck up your knee.
Yeah.
And you go run and stuff and jump and things. No, you should actually take some steps to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So,
and the universe or spirits as the same thing will make you listen, you know, because first it's going to be a little hint, and I don't want to be dramatic here, but it's how it's works. It's going to be, oh, you know, you might change your life, you might not like your job or your partner or whatever. And let's do the job situation. I'm going to talk about my life. So I was like a bit stressed with work. I'm like, well, it's fine, like suck it up, you know. Then I didn't listen. First burnout. Oh, that's fine, I'll just keep going. Second burnout. Yeah, I got like, and then to the point where at some point I couldn't recover for 1 year. And then it's like, how much do you need me to break you down so you can stop and reflect, you know? And that's how when people, they break a leg or say, you know, it's not like some people will say, oh, God is bad. No, God, the universe, the spirit wants you to listen and stop being a little brat with your ego, you know, and be like, this is not aligned with myself. I'm not living my truth. I'm not living authentically. I'm living the life they say me to do, but I'm not happy, you know? And that's why people who go through depression or spiritual awakening or whatever, they lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But at the same time, this also shows that they change frequency. It's not aligned with them anymore. And so change has to happen to make space for the new. And when you look at nature, there is nothing, it can't be empty. The moment you have a little patch of, then you have new grass coming up. So it's a whole process of the season and loss and renewal and rebirth. And so now when I have challenges that happen in my life, I'm like, okay, it's for the best. I believe, even if it can be super painful, I believe it's for my best, and it will bring better things, you know. And it never showed me the contrary. So again, it's like finding this trust, finding this faith. And no matter what, you're like, okay, I trust the process. And it doesn't mean I trust the process all the time. I'm human. But, you know, doing psychic mediumship, again, helps you to be like, this is all good, you know. Our whole purpose on this earth is to ascend. You know, it doesn't mean like to be enlightened by like Buddha, but to become this closest version of our higher self, this person who is free from suffering and fear. And that's why we do all these things like ashram, psychotherapy, coaching, going to the gym, you know.
Yeah.
Watching a movie.
Listening to this podcast.
Yeah. And it's okay. It's also okay to shut down, you know. It's also okay to retreat and numb ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we are human, you know. We can't always be like harsh, or working, you know.
Or society, what other people think of me, or what are the stimuli from outside.
Yeah.
It's just like reconnecting with what is the voice that's coming from inside.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you said, you know, you hit rock bottom, you know, when you for example, when you're really, really depressed, and then it kind of, you got to, if you stay in there and then it kind of awakens you.
Yeah.
Because I've heard depression talked about in so many different ways. They call it like a deep sleep sometimes. There's this concept called depressive realism, where people who are depressed see the reality for what it is in their eyes, meaning that it's like a wake-up call. It's they see that they feel in their body and their mind that something is wrong, and they see it for how it is, instead of pushing it through it. So once you step back and you allow that feeling of, it's ironic that I call it feeling of like numbness, nearly.
Yeah.
Then something kind of emerges from that, and it's okay to take your time with it. That's what I've learned. Yeah. Like in my own experience, and I relate to a lot of what you said today, which is like amazing, honestly. Thanks for sharing. But I've learned that I need to take my time with it.
And I have some shivers. So I can see, I can feel our connection. I think one of the most, like the biggest challenge I've been through, and I think it's a very big human condition, is the unknown. You know, is when we go exactly, for example, through depression, we don't know how it's going to last, how long it's going to last. And this is one of the scariest thing, you know, because we will be doing all this self-development course and coaching, and we work so much on ourselves. And the thing is, there is a huge element of our life where we don't know, and we have to accept that. And whatever, you know, some people who went through a childhood maybe more stable are a bit cooler with this. But I think overall human beings, they like to control.
Yeah.
And yeah, and even if you're a psychic medium, there are a lot of things I don't know. You know, I can have a lot of intuition, but this is part of the human condition to not know everything. And this go back to faith. This go back to surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go through life, and even in relationship, you're like, oh, is it the right person for me, or am I going to India and have the things you want? I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But how is your intuition guiding you the best? Remember when you are on a holiday and you go with the flow, because you have no expectation. You don't try to control anything. So if you can bring this aspect of surrendering within your life, then your intuition, spirit, universe, God, whatever you call it, is going to bring you to the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, again, our ego, our mind, our control freak aspect we all have goes in the way and be like, this is safe, I should go there, this is a red flag. I mean, look at social media. How many videos it's like, oh, is that a red flag in a relationship? Like, just fuck off, you know, like, honestly, go with your intuition. What does your intuition makes you feel? Yeah. And this is, you know, you were talking about validation with other people. Same. We've never been taught for listening to ourselves, you know. Mm-hmm. We've always relied on the validation of the parent, of the teacher, blah, blah, blah. If we teach our kids to listen to their intuition they already have, instead of listening to someone telling you, read this book you're not interested in, it's going to help you later, trust me, the world is going to be a better place, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Mm-mm.
And that's why we don't trust ourselves. That's a big issue in society, and it can be reversed. I see how much people change in a few sessions because they know they trust themselves.
Can I ask you, because you've talked about like parents and children, have you worked with parents?
Yes.
And through your work, have you seen maybe like a change in their relationship with their children? Because that's one of the things that really defines you later, and like the relationship that you have with your primary caregivers, right? Like that really, you know, you kind of develop the sense of self like around 5-year-old technically. And I mean, that's what the books say. But who knows? But like, yeah, that's so defining in later in life and how you trust yourself and in the relationship like you develop with yourself. So I was wondering, do you work with parents and
my clients go from let's say 20 to 70 years old, and it's a mix of men and women. But I have lots of parents. And one of them who's coming to spiritual life coaching and psychic development had a very difficult relationship with his dad, who passed away, and then he was struggling in his marriage with his 2 kids and his job, like midlife crisis around 44 years old. And through the work we did together, he understood that, at the beginning, like many of us, because we are unconscious, he was putting himself in a state of a victim. It's all of them against me, you know. My wife doesn't understand me, my kids are this, my boss is like this. And then the moment he realized of like all this grief and this work with his inner child and higher self, then he started to trust the process and to surrender and to forgive himself. and and to tap into this higher version of himself, like we call the higher self and spirit. And now it changed him completely. So instead of blaming people, it's like, I am the master of my life, I'm the one who decides. And it changed completely from being really tough and unavailable with his children, because he thought he had to work hard to be a good dad, to be like, actually, I need to spend time with my children, and I need to show them how to have fun and be a joyful dad, and show them all these things about intuition that I discovered and learned from them, because children are the teacher, It's not the other way around. Yeah. We forgot. And I dream of a world, and I think later in life, I will create a school where, and there are other schools that exist that really protect children's intuitive abilities and creative abilities, and then teach adults.
Hey, wait. Are you Xavier from X-Men? X-Men. Are you going to be bold?
Xavier, what's that?
From the X-Men has like the special school with people with kids with special abilities.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like from the X-Men, superheroes movie.
Yeah, but we are superheroes.
I'll send you a picture.
Yeah. No, but that's what I discovered in my life, is we are all superheroes. Like all the psychic abilities or like the energy stuff. You can do that. Yeah. It's not in the films.
Yeah.
Or like the films are based on reality. It's just like an exaggeration.
No, it's not an exaggeration.
I mean, like, when there's like a superhero that can fly and have laser beams from their eyes and stuff like that.
Well, you go to Asia, you can see some levitation things. No, I'm telling you, like, things are not that far from reality. And so that's why it's a very exciting time in society. It's a bit like like Star Wars. It's like we're at the peak of darkness and light. It's kind of like, is everything is going to be destructed or not? But when you look at it, it's because everyone is awakening. Mm-hmm. And so on the other side, like the dark side, they want to increase even more, like fear and war and destruction and division. But if you turn your TV down for a moment and you stop watching this stuff, then you can see there is a lot of good as well, So what you consume, you are. What you eat, you are. What you listen, you are. So focus your attention. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aware of this, but tune into things that are actually, from a frequency and energy perspective, is going to be uplifting for yourself, for people around you. And if you believe in quantum physics, like the whole world, So it's not being passive, actually.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We are like going through lots of things.
No, this is amazing. So many things to think about, and we're touching on loads of points. But yes, I definitely feel like it's happening really, really slowly. And it's like an avalanche that starts it's really small and really slow at the beginning. But then it might pick up momentum and become bigger and bigger. Because like me personally, just in my life, meeting people that are actually more conscious, or that are finding like alternative way to deal with themselves and with people around them and with reality. That it's not, I have some problems in my life, like you said, it's my boss, or it's my job, or if I buy that car, I might be happier, or like I might be better, or might be more confident, or if I have a bigger house, etc., etc. These are all great things, of course, to have these things, but it will not change who you are. Mm-mm-mm. And again, changing your boss or changing the problem is not your boss, it's not your wife, your husband, or your friends. It's maybe you should like look inside and have like a sincere, truthful interaction with yourself, and just figure out what it is that you can do, that you can change in yourself to actually get to that state where you are more in tune with your higher self, or with your inner child, or like your inner truth. Mm-mm-mm. And that's the best approach, and it's not like we've been taught. It's to focus on things that are outside of you.
Yeah. It's like redefining the story that you tell yourself every day, which helps redefining the relationship. And what, and I'm always very fascinated by, by ways of doing that kind of empowers you, like you're doing it on your own. You're not relying on someone else to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You're learning a skill, maybe, obviously from someone who's, like in your case, that's been doing it for quite a while. But it, as you say, that there's no ego involved.
Yeah.
And that is very precious, because a lot of people, there's always an element of power when you go and see a doctor, for example.
Yeah.
There's always that element of someone who has more knowledge than you, has studied more years than you, and they say knowledge is power, but actually it's about allowing you to seek that knowledge within yourself and then use it for yourself, which is, it's very refreshing. It's a very powerful thing, and I can think about a lot of situations where this could help so many people who are stuck like in their jobs, or stuck in the wrong relationship, perhaps situations that can be potentially dangerous over time. So it's really nice to hear that.
And like several things. Sorry, I'm like I had a little dip. Again, in my job, because and I don't really like the word healers, but I'm a healer and a practitioner. A lot of people think I'm going to solve all of their issues. And when you think about it, I'm not the one solving their issues. I am here to create a space so they solve their own issues, And that's what I love about Reiki. For example, it's because Reiki is, you channel the energies, life force energy, but it's the person balancing their own energy. And it's always the case. We are the powerful one. No one can have an impact on our energy. When we say someone upsetted me, when you look at Buddhism, no one upsetted you. You allowed yourself to be upset, No one has the power over you unless you give them the power. So, of course, if someone slaps you, it doesn't make you happy. But, look at the little children who fall on the floor when they are young.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to laugh.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to cry. They see an adult be like, oh my God. And then they're like, okay, I need to cry right now. So
they're very smart.
Yeah. And Samir, you were talking about inside work. What I like to remember is like, as above, so below, as inside, so outside, And I had situation in my life, for example, where at some point, like a lot of people nowadays, I was attracting non-available, like emotionally non-available people. And I'm like, why? Like the dating world is all there for bloody dating app. Now I found a lovely partner, so it's fine. But but for this, instead of blaming the whole man, I'd be like, okay, this cycle keeps happening in my life. So this is more like spiritual life coaching, but still it's intuition. Say, what does it mean? What is this pain that is not being addressed within me that keeps reenacting itself? And the pain was like, you are not worthy of love. You are not worthy of love. And like, okay, how do I stop this thing? And how I did it was like the last time I had a partner who did a push and pull. I was like, man, sort your shit out. I'm out. And then he was like, no, I want you. And he became my partner. Boundaries. And it's like, the universe is going to test you until you get the lesson, Yeah. It's not hurting you for hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, like, all the events in our life is a reflection of our inner self. So when you look at the world full of wow, then you're like, okay, we need to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always had some kind of unease with the political world and going to protest. And yes, I went to protest for Brexit or whatever. And I'm French, you know. But I always felt like the limitation of it. Because for me, the most impactful is the energy, you know, working at energy level. This is a word that this is very powerful. And also seeing, like, if I go to a protest and I'm just like emitting just negative and violent energy, violence feeds violence, you know. Yeah. And that's why my mentors are like Luther King and Gandhi and Mandela, because they were like preaching peace, and it's not passivity. No, it is love will make a change. You don't need violence, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think. And I don't want to open this Pandora box, but I think about like Palestine and Jerusalem and Israel, and the only answer is love. You know, it's not fighting, and that's the same thing in the world. And India is a really good example for this, how they've been able to sort out the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well said.
Absolutely, 100%. I have a question to ask, because I was wondering, how does this might be very simple question, but I was curious to how does do you do Reiki as well?
Yeah.
How does that look like?
So, do you know a bit about Reiki, or would you like me to explain?
It would be better if you explained it. No thank problem. You, because I know a little bit, but probably very basic. Well. Yeah.
So basically, Reiki's explanation is going to look a bit hoo-hoo, okay? Warning. So it's better to experience it, but as a principle, you know, like when you think about Tai Chi, Qi or Qigong. Qi means energy. So like yoga, we have all around us an energy life force. That means that we are all alive. That's why we're breathing. And this life force energy is in us, in animals, in plants, all around us. And when we are, again, let's say depressed, or we have things that are not working out in our life, it means that our energy is not aligned, or there are energy blocks. When we look at Indian philosophy or Asian philosophy, there are like centers, energy centers called chakra. And when there is a disbalance of energy at chakra levels, then it creates problem. So for example, if you had a heartbreak, you might have like your heart chakra unbalanced. If you have a headache, it might be like the crown chakra. And so the goal of Reiki is rebalancing your energy. So the Reiki practitioner is able to channel the Reiki, the life force energy, through their hands, so that it helps you at chakra level. So they put their hands over your chakras. It looks very still. From an outside perspective, it looks like nothing is happening. And it's going to fill you with energy and rebalancing your energy and feel calm, super bliss. I used to be so anxious. I had been doing meditation for at least 7 years before doing Reiki, but still I had panic attacks and things like that. I came across Reiki, like, I don't know, it called me. I don't even know how I found it. And then when I heard about it, I'm like, oh my God, so hoo-hoo, like energy stuff. But still I went for it. And then the transformation that happened was incredible. Because from level 1, you are able to channel Reiki for yourself. You are attuned. And so you don't even need a practitioner next to you. You can do it on yourself with your hands, on your body. And it puts you in a state of grounding. And it's to be experienced. But it's some of my clients, most of my clients are like, I've never experienced such a profound sense of peace, you know. And it is interesting to talk about like Reiki and psychic, because often people who are attuned to Reiki then start developing psychic abilities. because it's all the same, you know, like life force, energy, the universe, spirit is kind of the same thing, you know. So when you start opening to energy, you start opening to psychic abilities. It's very normal. So yeah, so I do Reiki on myself every day, morning and evening, and I receive Reiki regularly. And it's like we were talking about meditation and mindfulness. Now companies understand the power of mindfulness. The next step is Reiki and intuition, because then they say like, okay, we need to take care of our energy like our body. You brush your teeth every day, you go to the gym several times a week. If you don't know how to manage your energy, well, your life is going to be a mess, you know. And Reiki works on all levels. It's like emotional, spiritual, physical, psychological. Again, talking about my client who had so-called borderline personality, the moment she had Reiki, she didn't have any problem. So I will never say, because I'm not a medical practitioner, that Reiki solves everything, but it helps a lot. And I work with patients who have cancer. Reiki is recognized by the NHS. And as you were saying, Julia, is the importance of aligning traditional medicine and holistic medicine, so that like traditional medicine is working on the end result, but we need to work on the root cause, you know, not fighting the headache. It's like actually what is causing the headache. So a lot of my clients also have chronic pain, and it's often an emotional and spiritual and result things. So speaking about this is like, oh, it's who maybe for you, but actually when you understand what's going on and when the pain is going away, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's not a miracle, it's something normal. We are beings who are on different levels that needs to be addressed and taken care of.
So I remember that last time you mentioned that there is a psychic university in London, and before talking to you, I never heard of it. And how is it? Like you studied there, right?
Yeah.
How is it? Do they have like a good approach? Is it like a solid institution?
Yeah. It's called the College of Psychic Studies in London, in South Kensington. And so when I had all my paranormal experiences, I looked for schools, and they have teachers, psychic medium teachers like me, and I studied a few years there. And because I was already very open, you know, like for being psychic medium, I say you need at least I don't know. There is not a course specific, but you need at least maybe 5-7 years. And in 1 or 2 years, I was already at level, you know. So no, it's a fantastic school. And for me, even as a professional psychic medium, I train every week with my teacher, because the intuition is like a muscle, you know. And I love it. It's my passion. But also the ego is going to tell you, oh, it's not true, you know. This is bullshit. And so it's important to keep on working on it, for bringing the confidence, you know. So yeah, it's a beautiful school.
Amazing. I can relate to a lot of things that you're saying, even if I'm not a reader, or I never done Reiki. But I feel like with meditation, it's something very similar, especially like when you get like to really deep states of meditation. And if you do it regularly for a long time, you just learn to, or like you detect that you have different voices inside yourself. And there is the ego, that it's always trying to take control. And it kind of tends to belittle other things, and tends to belittle that other voice in yourself, that it's more like the intuitive voice. While the intuitive voice, it tends to be more harmonious in my experience. And in the beginning, you cannot separate between the two. But then like with time, you start realizing like, hey, wait, like sometimes I think about certain stuff that I was not, it's not my intention. It's not what I wanted. It's not it's not what I feel. And in the beginning, you cannot see that, or like you cannot notice that. But like with meditation, with time, you start realizing that, and you start realizing that's not what I want to do. That's not the direction that I want to take. It's actually this other one. And that's what a lot of people say meditation is. It's just like learning to observe. And you observe at such a deep level that you start observing your thoughts and you separate from them. You're not identified with your thoughts, and usually your thoughts are connected to your ego. So yeah. I related to a lot of things that you talked about during this conversation.
And it shows that it's just different tools to get to the same point, you know. So people who are like pro meditation or pro yoga or pro Reiki or pro psychic is like, guys, it's like all the religions, it's all going to the same point, you know. Like, so don't worry. If you resonate more with meditation than psychic, good for you. Just follow your flow. There is not like one cup fits all. Psychic is not better than meditation. And people, again, who are afraid of psychic because they prefer meditation, you're like, at the end, it's just being connected to God and to ourselves and feeling good and feeling at peace. So it's the same point. And again, there is no ego to have of like, oh, I'm really good at yoga or I'm really good at psychic. It's like everyone is finding a way to find some respite, to feel grounded, to feel content with their life. You were talking about the car. You know, my client, you were asking me about, do I work with parents? At the beginning of his life coaching, spiritual life coaching, on his vision board, he put like Ferraris and all these things, you know, that he wanted to manifest. And it's so cool. I love cars, no problem. And at the end, he changed his vision board, and he was like, I just want to feel at peace and content. And I was like, hey, you can have your Ferrari and be content. You know, it's not like, oh, I need to be a monk and have no material. It's like, why do we have to be in such a duality, you know? Yeah. And when you go back to Buddha or Shiva or Jesus, it's always the same. It's like, we are all one, you know? It's not one or the other. Just take everything. Why would you choose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I feel like it was more a thing of the past, that the easier path or the more intelligent path was just to renounce everything and go live on a mountain and live with nothing, and just be a Buddha or like a monk, because there was a scarcity of material stuff. But nowadays there is so much abundance that you can actually have like some nice things, and you don't have to put that much effort to get them. It's just like the tricky part is getting lost into chasing that next material thing, like better and better and upgrading. But it's just like an endless race that doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
So
when you were talking, I had a vision of like Japan when I was there, and what I love in this culture is I really put a lot of meaning and care in everything, even just like making tea, you know, pouring tea, and it's a lot of mindfulness, and they see the beauty, and they just want to do it well, sometimes to an extreme. But it's that's the thing. It's like, instead of like, okay, I got a coffee, I throw it. I got a man, I throw it. You know, it's like just appreciating the present moment. It's always going back to this at the end, because our mind is like next. Okay, I've finished my podcast and my coaching session, and what's next? You know, it's like appreciating.
It's like appreciate everything and expect nothing.
Yeah,
it's like just find the beauty in everything and just take it very slow. For how difficult and how it can be, because the way society is structured around you fights against you for this a lot of the time, but it's just trying to find your way to slow down.
Yeah.
And really listen to yourself.
And why do we rush? It's because we don't want to be in touch with our emotions and our pain, you know?
Yeah.
And why do we have expectation? Is because we want to have a feeling of control that we don't have.
It's fake.
Yeah, and why are we disappointed? It's because we have expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and that's why sometimes people find friendship. I mean, we're digressing a lot. Friendship and friendship easier than relationship. It's because I have less expectation with friendship, but it's the same. It's a human being in front of you. You know.
Yeah, I mean that really resonates with me, even with relationships, because people are different and they have different communication styles. They have different experience, and just reminding yourself, you know, when you get frustrated with someone, just reminding yourself that they're a human being just like you. And this might sound a bit wishy-washy, but remind yourself, you know, they're a human being like you, and like you, they're doing their best. Like exactly. That, you know, it's seeing the good in people, and remind they're doing their best, and not put an expectation on them.
Yeah.
That's what really helps me.
Yeah. People often ask me why I can't really be angry at people, and maybe there is a part of me that still denies anger or whatever. But it's just when I see people having a bad behavior or whatever, I just see the pain that they're going through. You know, so they are always, and I'm not saying I'm a Buddha or whatever, but I'm saying they are already in pain, you know, so I'm not going to punish them even more. They are like having this behavior or throwing their shit at people, and you're like, well, you are already in prison.
Yeah.
So that's how, and that's also the whole thing about spiritual life. It's being like having compassion and being like, the behaviors they have with me or someone else it has nothing reflecting my worth. It's like their own thing.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, like hurt people hurt.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah. But there is a path of liberation, because, you know, we've all been hurt in the past.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we have free will of choosing, do I want to keep my heart open and seeing the good in people?
Yeah.
Even if I'm still going to be hurt, and doesn't mean you don't have to put boundaries. Or do you want to close it and say, oh, all people are awful, I can't trust them, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, through experience and life experience, then again, when you get like people disappointing you have less expectation, let's say, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, and if you have less expectations and you just watch people's behavior and be like, okay, this is where he is in his life or in their life, and
yeah,
and I choose to agree or not with it, or to stay with this person or not.
Yeah, it's something that I noticed as well recently, is that if you put your bar so low that you can just be positively impressed by someone, whatever you do, my bar is really low. Like, you can just do better.
Yeah, and that's why
it makes your life so much better. So like, let's say, for example, they have plans to see a friend. Usually, like, my old self would be like, if they show up, I'm happy. If they don't show up, or they're late, or they cancel at the last second, I'll be angry, like, fuck that person. Like, why did they cancel at the last second? Now I have to change my plan, blah, blah, blah. They didn't stick to their word and stuff like that. But then when you have no expectations, I don't know if you'll show up or not. Like, I really don't know. So when they actually show up, I'm like, yes, I'm happy. You showed up. Great. That's amazing. And if they don't show up, I'm like, oh, okay. I had no expectations.
Yeah, and really believing maybe in a, you know, and maybe it's a way of reassuring myself. But I always see it works. I'm believing that when things don't work out, it's for the best.
Yeah.
You know, and so you might. My first reaction might be a bit of frustration, but then it's like, oh, actually, I can't wait to see what's next. You know. So when my family member, when I was going to Italy, told me that she wasn't well and she wasn't sure I could come, I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, okay, what do I need? Oh, I still want to go, you know? So I booked something else, and then my partner came, and it happened to be even better. And I saw her and my partner. So my first reaction would have been, oh, why? Why is it happening to me? My holiday. And actually, it turned out to be amazing.
Yes, something similar is happening now. When we had our first conversation, it was like great one. I really, really enjoyed it. It was amazing. But then we found out in the end that we lost, like, the recording was gone. And I kind of got the impulse of being like really angry and saying like, why is this happening? Like, I was so careful. Like, last time I had 2 microphones, like, you know, like the
yes
reserve one. So I had 2 microphones, these main ones, and I had like a reserve one.
Oh, you had a reserve one.
And both were not working.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
And what
So-
what did I tell you?
Yeah, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
I remember that we took it like really, really like philosophically, like we accepted it, like, okay.
Yeah.
I guess-
It's meant to happen, and it's for something better. And,
And also-
look where we are. No, it's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
It's true.
And now we're having a conversation, and because last time we already had one, and I didn't want to have like the same format, I just invited Julia here.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So,
And it
yeah.
creates a beautiful energy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, that's why it's nice to be surprised, to have
Yeah.
the space of being surprised.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
And when you look at the events in your life and things that are happening, you really see it's not up to your control. And like the things that you wanted as planned will have been much less wonderful than what happened finally, you know? So, yes, it's creating this space.
So you've spoken about experiencing paranormal activity,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, and I was just wondering. Yeah, I want to know a little bit more about that.
Sounds good. So you know, like in our society, when you look at scary movies, you have like the Ouija board, the possessions, the light flickering, the feelings and stuff. So pretty much everything happened to me. Not the Ouija board. I will never do something like that because again, I'm not interested in this dark side. But basically. Yeah, in 2009, my dad died, and I kind of repressed it. And something happened in 2011-12 that led to a huge burnout, depression, and things like that. And then from there, I came back to London, and in my bedroom, there were lots of things happening. I was living with a flatmate at that time. But what happened is my bed started to like literally levitate. I know it's hard to believe, but I'll tell the story anyway. My bed started to levitate, the door was opening by itself, my computer was playing music. At night, I was feeling like hands on my body, feeling of cold. I had a feeling there was a person in my bedroom at night, especially around midnight and 2 a.m. So really like the scary, creepy movie. And I will also have like this lucid dream where I will feel like I'll go to the toilet at night and I wouldn't be able to turn the light on. And that was a sign that I was in a dream. And I'll be like, oh shit, I need to wake up. Because every time when I will pass through the corridor, there will be like this kind of entity, like kind of demoniac entities who will literally destruct me in my dream. And you will feel very real. Or I will have psychic attack where I wouldn't be able to move on my bed. And so very, very scary. And at that time, I had started meditation. So it was 12, 13 years ago. And I was terrified. I couldn't sleep. Even my flatmate was hearing things. But because she was like very German, very rational, and I didn't want to freak her out, I didn't say anything. But I was really questioning my sanity at this point, and I couldn't say this to anyone. No one would have believed me. So I turned to the Tibetan monk who was teaching me meditation, and he was like, "Oh, you're very advanced in meditation." I'm like, "What?" And they were like, "Yes, your psychic abilities are very open. It's really good." And he described me that basically when I was meditating, I was like kind of showing a lot of light, and so it will be attracting these things. And I needed to learn, again, going back to energy, to protect my energy, to work with my energy, etc. And I was like, look, right now, I just want these things to get out. How do I do this? And he was like, oh, there is this woman in the church specialized in spirit stuff, like Ghostbuster. Go and see her. And I'm like, I'm living in a film, like what's going on? And so I went to see this woman who told me there are 3 possible things that is happening. Either it's your dad doing this. And I'm like, it's not my dad. I can't explain. It's a woman energy. and she's not happy because she's been looking for her child. I really can't explain that, but it's just what I know, and she wants me to get out. She's like, okay, so that might be an entity, so someone who died abruptly and who hasn't passed over. Or it can be your own energy, because with people with huge psychic abilities, they can have an effect on matter. So people who are able to move objects, who are able to move water, like we talked about, like superheroes. In Bali, I was able to move water. I can't do it on purpose, but we all have these psychic abilities, these paranormal or whatever powers, but we just haven't been trained to do this. But in Asia or whatever, they have no problem doing this in some monastery. So yeah, she offered to do a mass at my place, which I refused because, again, with my flatmate. And she said, like, go bless some water with your intention. And for me, with my past about Catholicism and stuff, like, oh my God, like, why do I have to do this? I did it with the power of intention. And when I started to splash some water on the wall, like, the door was getting crazy. It was really bad. So in any way, I didn't want to leave the place. And so that's how I started to do a lot of research on paranormal activities, psychic development, crystals, protection, and things like that. But I also saw that the more I was fearing this entity, the more I gave her power. So that was important for me to start cohabitating with it, like the Addams family. And one day I went to Bali, and the same thing happened to me, like in a hotel, like a very strong entity, or entity basically means energy, but like a strong spirit. And I'm like, why am I attracting angry spirit? What's the problem with me? And I called a Balinese friend. He told me, like, give some offering, respect the spirit. Have you asked them when you enter in a room if you are allowed? You're going to someone's house. It's like, hey, Julia, I'm just coming to your place. You would be a bit offended. Yeah. So again, in some cultures, you ask for permission, you give some offering. At that time, I only had water and crisps. So I was like, okay, man. So I was like picturing a man with a beard who was looking for his wife, and I was like, okay, man, like literally throwing curtains everywhere, and I'm like, okay, I have some crisps. So these are your crisps. This is the water. Please allow me to be in the space and the sleep. Thank you.
Wait, I'm a little bit confused. You said that it was the women energy.
So in Bali, it was another entity.
So this is a different one. It's not in your house with the German flatmate.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I lost like
yeah, so there was... sorry, I did the transition very quickly. Okay, so the first one, I was in London, and I managed to cohabitate with her. And the second one was in Bali. I mean, there were several ones, but like the strongest were in Bali, and I was in a hotel room, and he was a very, very strong, angry man with a beard who lost his woman. And I called a Balinese friend who told me, give them some offering. I gave him some crisps, and he calmed down. And I'm like, wow, okay, these things work. And I started to talk to him, and I'm like, look, I'm not here to offend you. I'm not the woman you're looking for. And the funny thing is, when I was falling asleep, I could feel his hand on my body, but in a protective way, So it just goes back to the spirit world is everywhere, but we don't have to be afraid of it. I remember when I was a child, I was like, do they see me naked? Yes, they do, but they don't care. They don't care. We are multidimensional beings, and that's why when we increase our frequency, we see things that we wouldn't see, or we perceive things we wouldn't perceive. So we have our ancestors all the time next to us, and we don't have to fear them. But the more we fear them, the more, So then it's led me to learn psychic mediumship and stop being afraid of it. And I never had psychic attacks again, because I was like, I don't have to be afraid. So it was like the spirit world, through my dad especially, calling me. And now, since then, I've been able to help so many people, to find closure and to be in contact with their ancestors. And it's a normal thing. And we are in contact with our ancestors all the time, when we think of them, when we dream, when we see a message in the street, when we hear a song about them, when we have a memory. And that's why, like when you look at the statues in the war and things, and it's memory. The memory duty makes them keep the connection, because then otherwise it's done.
And when you got this first experiences that were already really, really unusual for you and paranormal, how did you approach telling it to others, and especially who did you decide to share this with, and what was the reaction? And also, like nowadays, I see that you talk about it like really openly now.
Yeah.
But how was it back then?
Well, back then it was 2014, and even today it's quite difficult to talk about it. 4 years later, 10 years later, or 12 years later. Well, the first person I told was really the last one I should have told. Which was like the most anti-occult or anti-religion, anti-spirituality, which is my mum, that I love. Hi, mum. Never loved death or really rejecting everything like that. But I was feeling completely crazy. And when I told her, she was like, you're getting bonker, like, take a pill and sleep.
Of course.
That's the best remedy in my family. And I was like, yeah, I'm taking pills, but it's still there. And so the door is opening by itself. So unless I'm schizophrenic and I'm getting really, really, really bonker, there is something going on. And so that's how, with the support of the Buddhists and the Tibetans telling me, it's okay. And the Balinese saying, it's okay, it's good, that's you're doing great. And that's why I've always more related to Asian culture, and when you think about it, or I must have been a Chinese person or Indian person in another life anyway, but everything is drawing me more to Asian culture and the spirit world and the energy world. I relate more to this. And so, yeah, I was accepted as I am. And then when I found the College of Psychic Studies, and I was like, the first class, I felt like I was surrounded with Harry Potter's people, how do they channel these things? And then I progressed very quickly professional. And when I decided to launch myself as a professional, my mom was like, no, woman, you're just going to be like the witch burnt on the cross. And that's the thing, like nowadays still, people with psychic abilities can be a bit persecuted. But I still went for it. And the very surprising thing is most people are very curious about it. You have a few people who say, okay, demons or whatever, but it was more related to church. But overall, people have this deep sense of like, I need guidance. I need help. I've tried everything. Just, can we try? And then we have a session together and like, oh, thanks God, And often people who go to psychic readings, then they want to learn to do psychic channeling, and then it just changed their life, So yeah, it's very simple in some ways. It's discovering who they are. But yeah, it started a bit like rock and roll for me. And I have these things all the time, like when people do psychic reading on me, my dad comes through all the time, my grandma comes through all the time. And it's normal, they are your protector. We have our psychic, our spirit tribe around us. One of my students was like, can I channel Cleopatra? Like, yeah, you can, but it's better to have someone from your spirit tribe who will help you with your life, rather than Cleopatra and Beauty Secret or whatever,
I guess it's probably it's one of those tools or powers that if you try to use it not with the right intentions, probably you will not be as effective. So probably if you use it for something that would help you, and it's not ego-based, like finding the secret of beauty, probably that's where you can be effective and actually channel this.
Yeah, you have to remember that everything has a price, especially energy-wise, And so that's why when people do black magic, and I won't venture in this word, and casting spells on people, there is a reciprocal effect happening, So you get the boomerang back to your face, basically. So maybe you're casting, you're like, I got rid of them, but then you get a big boomerang back, energetic boomerang back to your face. So just don't do it. Yeah, and so what brings love creates love, What brings joy creates joy. One of the things I teach in my class is, how is it called? Remote viewing. Remote viewing is the ability to see a space, not someone's space or whatever, from a remote distance, And this is a skill that is taught in the army to spy, for example, the Americans spying on the Russians. So they don't need to have a drone. They just use psychic mediums to be like, oh, okay, so this is happening and things like that. And same, the skills, you can use them for good or bad. But it's like everything.
So going back to the timeline, it's you getting in contact with this paranormal beings when you were in London.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time, right?
Mm-mm.
Then second time was in Bali, and then you went through all of this stuff and you went to college. Like you decided to have like a structured approach to it and learn to deal with it, and you went to the college here in London.
Yeah.
And from that was straight into deciding that you wanted to start a practice, or did you need some more guidance and encouragement from?
Yeah. No, it's like the very, very big headlines between that. There were a lot of dream visions, synchronicities, like the angel number 111222, like this kind of, it's like the universe is bringing you messages through different way. Or like people start talking about ayahuasca everywhere, so you have to go to ayahuasca. Or then people are talking about Sadhguru. So it's just a way of the universe guiding you from one thing to another. And for me, for like psychic abilities, it's just I had lots of paranormal activities all the time, a lot of body experience. I will know if someone is lying to me because it was just like all these things. And I will fight this for years. I will not accept it. I will be like, I'm strange. Yeah, it was a contradiction because I really want to have psychic abilities. I really want to learn how to do like work with my energy, like Kung Fu Panda and this kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm like, how can I integrate in society? And who can I talk to? And so, in parallel, I was making money, having my burnout intake, and then trying to sort out my things and discovering all the world of psychotherapy, energy, healing, and things. And at some point, I think the tipping point was, so I was already having my practice of psychic and having clients and things like that. But two things happened. The first one was, three things happened. I went to Bali and I had these psychic things, but I also met someone who helped me transition from a consciousness perspective through a process. And I left my previous relationship. Things accelerated. I went to Stonehenge for summer solstice 2 or 3 years ago. So when we look at sacred places, they are on like energetic timelines of Earth, in energetic lines. And so it's all about, like Star Wars with energetic gate, energetic generator. If you are and the ancients knew that, if you are in these places at the right time with the alignment of the stars, the energy is high. And so it's kind of, you are upgraded, like your iPhone, you get the latest version.
Like you're an antenna.
Yeah, we are all antennas. That's why we are able to channel. That's why we're able to do Reiki. It's our true nature.
But usually, like if they want to put an antenna, they would put it on a hill because then it's more receptive. So this is kind of something similar.
Yeah.
Like if you're in certain spots at a certain time.
Yeah. Or if like the energy lines of Earth are crossing to a certain point. So pyramids, Machu Picchu, Stonehenge, they are in a very, very strong energy point of Earth. And that's why people are drawn to them for spirituality. And there are a lot of paranormal activities there. And so when I went to Stonehenge in summer solstice, I started to see light beings and have even more paranormal activities, and my body started to shake with Kundalini or whatever. So this accelerated it. So when you go to sacred places, then you have this kind of quantum download that you are aware of it or not. And the last thing that happened and really made me leave the tech world completely is that I was in Jerusalem, and so Israel, Palestine, in August last year, 2023. And I went, so it all started with all the visions of Jesus and Mary, and I'm like, oh my God. And I went there. I was called again. You are called to these places. You are called to go to India. You are called to go to these places. This is your soul yearning, your intuition telling you. I went there while I knew that there was a lot of risk of war outbreak, even more. And I went to all these places of the Bible, and I could feel a very specific energy when it was Jesus, when it was the Last Supper, when it was Mary. So I started to feel this. And at some point, I just had a clear knowing that I couldn't go back to the tech and corporate world. It was over. The end of the cycle was over. And I had to do this. You know, I was meant to do this work of really bringing more light and love to this world. I'm not Jesus, but as an individual, this is my soul mission. And then I tried to resist it because the mind is like, no, but I need money and I need tech. And then the universe closed the gate completely. And before I will have a job in 2 days, then impossible. So yes, the market was down or whatever. But when these things happen, it's like the universe is telling you, you are knocking at the wrong door, woman. And so I went through all this fear of scarcity, insecurity or whatever. And I don't regret it at all, you know. So it's just kind of, again, going back to surrendering. Mm-hmm. It's like, there are events in your life. I didn't know why for so many years I was studying all these things. And then at some point, like I was in Tel Aviv, all these pieces of the puzzle assemble, and you're like, wow, perfect jigsaw, you know, but you needed all this germination first. And all this pain you've been through, then every time I see a client, it's a reflection of the past me, and I'm able to help them energetically, not even doing anything, because there is this energetic healing exchange, you know, this knowing that I know you, you know me, we are one. So it's beautiful.
Amazing.
So sorry, when you came back from Jerusalem, that was the point where you left your tech job.
Yeah, and I had been doing psychic and Reiki for and coaching for a while, but this was like when I completely left tech, when I did the big coming out, and trust me, coming out on LinkedIn. Hey,
Oh, wow.
this is. I am not who you think I am.
Pam, pam, pam.
Bam, bam, bam. Well, doing a coming out as a psychic is as scary as coming out as gay. Trust me, because how many women, especially, has been has been burned as witches, you know? And actually, I had a conversation with a friend yesterday. We are the first generation where we can safely express our spirituality, you know?
Yeah.
We're still not there yet, but it's safe. And it's really paving the way, especially for women, you know, to be like, you can be intuitive, or men as well, but, you know, reclaiming our gift.
Yeah. That's why when you touched on the society being more patriarchal, it's something that I thought of as well, is that, like you said, men tend to be more rational, tend to be more controlling and putting things in boxes. And that makes you more efficient, but you lose on the other side that it's being more in tune on what's around you and being more receiving and being more intuitive.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely society needs to shift like more towards these female traits and be more in balance.
Yeah, and you know, like, yes and no, because I feel like, again, I really don't like, I mean, I understand where they came from, and it was needed at its time, this feminism and the right of voting and all these things. But again, when you listen to like feminist speech, there is a lot of hate. There is a lot of division, men against women, and you're like, no, the whole point is unity. The whole point is love.
Balance.
You know, balance. Yes, we are men and women. We want equality, but we will always be different. You know, like dating wise, like again, I was talking about like how men these days have kind of lost this gentleman and courting side. It's like, oh yeah, but they get their own money. Still, you know, it's like we are all different, and this is what diversity is beautiful. Why am I talking about this? Yes, so I think it's just allowing the integration, allowing anyone, any gender, to be in touch with their feelings, in emotions, and see that not as a weakness but as a strength. All my life, I thought that my sensitivity was a weakness, while now my sensitivity is a gift, is my strength that allows people to empower. You know, it empowers people and they empower themselves. You know, this is what makes us human. And that's why we don't need to fear AI, because AI will never have our energy and our sensitivity. And we were talking about people with mental health issues. They are the best writers. They are the best painters, you know. Through suffering, that creates so much beauty, you know. If we were just in a hospital, aseptized environment, how fucking boring will it be, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely we need to shift more towards that intuitive part. And I feel like society should nurture more. That I didn't mean like feminists, but like female.
Female softness. And
yeah, that means that even a man can have that female energy, female side.
Energy, exactly.
And they can nurture that. And I feel like society has to put more attention into that. And also that's why I appreciate that I have both of you here. And when I started the podcast, I said, it's so great to have this female energy today, because usually I'm mainly interviewing men. So I'm happy that you came to the podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like this female energy in general, and women should have like more platforms to share their intuition and way of being.
I think it's about accepting feminine, masculine energy within women and men, or other genders as well. I think we all have that.
Exactly.
And I think the problem is, I always say like that human beings are walking contradictions. We're so complex, and I think the problem is in some areas in society it's not accepted. You know, a man who's a little bit more feminine is frowned upon. A woman who's a little bit more masculine is frowned upon. It's, you know, the two things can coexist.
And they are, and they are within us. That's the thing, that we want it or not. We have both this feminine and masculine part.
Absolutely. Someone who's non-binary, the same. So it's about creating that space, that acceptance, in order for people to really listen to themselves, because then you stop listening to yourself, you stop getting in touch with yourself when people start telling you, you know, oh, you're so, I don't know, for me personally, you're so masculine, Julia. You know, you're out of touch with your feminine side.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
not really. I am, you know, it's just a different way of expressing it. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's I think it's creating that space within society to accept all of these things, these different things, being able to explore them freely without any judgment at
Exactly.
the end of the day. Yeah.
And we have so two things. We have to remember that, again, going back to corporate, and I'm not demonizing it. It's just like it is what it is. Women have had to tap into their masculine energy in order to survive and to thrive and to be at a men level.
Yes.
So that's why it also has an impact on the dating world of like women are more in their masculine energy, and it's hard to
it's
be
hurting everyone.
It's
men
hurting
and women.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And now men are more waking up to their emotions, so they're more in their feminine energy, and so there is this kind of women chasing men, and men are like, oh, I'm not sure about commitment. So it's okay. We are all trying to find each other, but as you said, Julia, and sorry to go back to the Jesus thing, but that's a very interesting thing. I've done a lot of research on like this kind of really Jesus and how it was really, and I'm not saying the truth. It's like what I've learned from it. Jesus was a practitioner of Tantra. He did quite a lot of studies in India.
That's what I heard as well. You're not the first person that's telling me this.
And what is Tantra? And Tantra is not all about sex or whatever. Tantra is the ability to go from duality to unity, to merge the feminine and the masculine energy within yourself and with your partner, so that you can transcend the body, you know. And sorry for people who will disagree, but there are some theories that Mary Magdalene was like Jesus' partner, and they were like really adept of practitioner of Tantra. So I think going back to society today is like going back to the need of each person to be in acceptance of their shadows and their light, the masculine and the feminine, and being able to coexist together, you know. Because this is how like things go wrong in society, when we repressed our shadows, when we repressed our sexuality, when we, you know.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And then you get unwell.
Yeah.
So I have to be a party pooper again. These are all amazing topics, and I'm enjoying your perspectives. But we have to draw to a close. So to finish, I will start with you, Aude. Would you like to share anything like in terms of social media or platforms where people can find you, and if they want to explore more, they can use these platforms?
Thank you so much. I'm sure you will put the links, but you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, but yes, mainly Instagram at aude.firmin, and my website is www.audefirmin.com. If you don't know how to spell it, you will find the link with Samir.
Exactly.
And thank you so much. It was such a beautiful, inspiring space, and I just love how we start with psychic and then it weaves in all this beautiful societal subject, and it's just a reminder that it's not all about psychic. It's impacting every part of our life, you know, and we have all the same goal, which is to be happy, to be accepted, to be loved, and it's just finding a method to get there, you know, if it's meditation, Reiki, psychic, or whatever, you know.
Or creativity.
Or creativity, yes, exactly. Yeah. And I love being surrounded with people like you, you know, because I did this work because I couldn't find my community, and now I'm creating community, and talking with people like you, it just gives me hope for human beings and for the planet. And
Same
the
here.
more we speak our truth, that might not be in agreement with everyone, and it's okay. the more we find our tribe and the more we accept ourselves, you know. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank
Julia, would you like to share anything?
Just that this has been a great conversation. Thank you for having me here, Samir.
No
I really
worries.
appreciate it, and it's been amazing to talk to you, Aude. Like, honestly, it's been very inspiring, very insightful, and I've loved every minute of it. So
Same.
thank you so much.
And see you soon again.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank you both for coming, for taking time and coming here, and just being brave enough to share your own truth. So,
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Samir.